think it looks good. I think you look good, but it just, I wanted to ask you because some people
Okay.
may not. But if you're comfortable, that's good. Okay, good. All right, how about if you just state your name, as I said, and where you're from, and what kind of title you would have from the service?
In the service. My name is John Welsh. I'm from Newport, New York, and I was PFC.
In your branches?
Oh, in the 26th Division, Yankee Division, 328th Infantry, Company M.
And that's the Army?
Company M.
Was it the Army,
Yeah.
though, sir?
Oh, in the Army, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Infantry,
Infantry, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. How about if you tell us about how you got into the service?
Pardon?
How did you get into the Army?
I was drafted. I was in high school. I was a senior in high school, and I had to take a physical, and then after I graduated in June, and I went to the service in July. I went down to Camp Wheeler, Georgia, took infantry training for 17 weeks. I come home and had they called it a delay en route, like it was a 2-week furlough, and then I went overseas. I went over on the Queen Mary. Took us 5 days. We landed in Glasgow, Scotland. We were supposed to get more training. This was in the Battle of Bulge. We were supposed to get more training in England, and we just went down through England on a train to Southampton, got on LSTs and went over to Le Havre, France. Got on boxcars and went up to Luxembourg, and that's where they separated us in different outfits, different divisions. And I got in the 26th Division, 328th Infantry, Company M. And then right in Luxembourg, that's where we went right on the line.
Now, you were
We
right
didn't-
out of high school.
Yeah.
What kind of impact did that have on you right then?
Pardon?
What was the impact on you right then?
Well, it was all kind of sudden, you know what I mean? And it really didn't bother me because a lot of my friends had gone, and I was ready to go, I guess.
So you had kind of a positive outlook, even though you were put right into battle.
Yes, yeah, I had a positive outlook.
And lots of your friends went.
Yeah, before I liked a lot of the ones that were a year or two older, they had already gone, and some of the ones that were my own age had gone. Some of them had quit school to go. So
Some had quit school and gone, but I'm sure that that there was a certain tone in the communities. The communities had a certain feeling for the war at that time.
yeah, they were, they wanted. Well, they were glad the boys would go, and they backed us. They were in back of us and everything like that.
So you hit battle right off the boat, pretty much
Right.
head to battle. What?
In fact, one fellow, we left the States New Year's Day. We got on the boat New Year's Eve. We left the States New Year's Day of 45. And I think it took us 5 or 6 days. We went over on the Queen Mary. It took us 5 or 6 days to we landed in Scotland. Then we got on a train and went down to Southampton, into Le Havre, and then up to our outfits. And I think it was either the 8th or 9th day, this one fellow was on the boat with us, got killed. That's how quick. It was in the Battle of the Bulge, and they needed replacements, and that's what we were, is replacements.
How did you feel about it then?
Well, it all happened so quick. I mean, you were just trying to, stay alive and everything. You know what I mean? And then some of the ones that had been there, they kind of looked out after you and give you pointers and like that. And
So was there, what kind of surprise was that to you? Is that what you expected?
I really didn't know what was going on. And it was all new to me, and it all happened so fast.
Okay, what happened, now how long were you in battle there? Because you were right in the front line.
How long?
Yes.
We were up there for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and then we went back for they called it a 3-day rest. And then we went to a different sector after that. I think I think it was the 42nd Division relieved us, and we came back for a 3-day rest, and then we went to another sector.
In that first 2 or 3 weeks of Battle of the Bulge, amazing battle, you must have you lost people you were side by side with, I'm sure.
Well,
A lot. How did you manage that? What did you do to handle that?
I don't know, it kind of bothered me a lot, but I don't know, I just tried to be careful, and you know what I mean.
How difficult is it to relive some of that or to talk about that?
Very difficult. In fact, I didn't think I really didn't know whether to come here or not and talk about it. I never told a lot of these things to my wife or children or anything.
Why do you think you didn't tell them?
Pardon?
Why do you think you didn't tell them or didn't want to tell them?
Yeah, there were a lot of things I didn't want to. Well, I mean, you're up there and you only know people from they're your buddies, and then some of them will get hit and they go back to hospital and like that. You just don't like to talk about it.
Too painful?
Pardon?
Too painful?
Oh, really, kind of painful, yes. Yeah. You kind of like to forget about it.
A lot of people have said that. They just as soon forget. Yeah. You got your rest, which probably was great at that point, your 3 days rest, and then went back.
Yes, well, we went back for a 3-day rest. We got clean clothes, we had showers, warm meals, and like that. And then on the way back, we went back on Army trucks, and it was cold and everything. I caught a cold and it settled in my ear. And I had an earache. I went to the medics, and I ended up back in Paris in the General Hospital, 24th General Hospital. I was there for 3 or 4 days, and I think they gave me sulfa pills. Then I think they were giving everybody sulfa pills at that time for most everything. Then I went back to my outfit, and they had moved from Luxembourg. They were in part of Germany at that time. That's when I caught up with them.
In Germany. Now, how difficult was that to be right in Germany?
How difficult?
Enemy territory, like that.
Well, it was real difficult, and we didn't meet many civilians, but when we did, like in a town, boy, they didn't want anything to do with us. They were strictly Nazis, and they wouldn't even, we had to be careful or they'd go after us. But it was real difficult at first.
How did you adjust to the culture differences from one country to the other? You were very young and probably didn't have exposure to the different cultures very much?
Well, at that time, you really didn't pay much attention to that. You were, kind of stay out of, there was 88s coming in like that. You were just trying to look out after yourself or your buddies. We didn't pay too much attention to the culture. And actually there wasn't, we didn't run into many of the civilians, only just a few.
How about about any communications with home? Since you were right in battle, you probably didn't have as much communication during that time, but in your times off and things, did you have some communications back and forth with people at home?
I used to write, well, when I had a chance, I'd write letters, but we didn't get mail very often. And sometimes a week at a time or a couple of weeks at a time, we wouldn't get mail, and then we'd get quite a lot of it.
It must have been a happy time, though, to get the mail.
Oh, it was, yeah. Hell, you'd hear what was going on at home and like that.
Probably helped sustain you.
Oh, yeah.
And you
Yeah, it
went-
helped our morale and like that.
Were you aware of things that people were doing back at home to help the war effort?
Oh, yes, yeah.
They write to you about some of the stuff they were doing?
Yeah, they wrote to me and told me about it. And then before I left, the people were doing a lot for the war and like that. I know I remember the meat was rationed and all that, and different things were rationed. And
The children, children had to be prepared.
yes, 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 yeah.
So they were helping with the war effort too.
Yeah, right.
Are there things you remember doing, or the kids around you doing?
Well, when I was in high school, I
Yeah.
think remember different things we were doing for the war, yeah.
What were some of those?
Jeez, I can't remember right now. Oh, I know we were collecting, I forget, we went around collecting metal or something, cans or scrap iron like that and then I think they took it to Utica to a junkyard and like that. And, oh, I don't know.
Some stamps people were collecting, I think, war bonds.
Oh yeah, the war bonds, yeah, buying war bonds, yeah. I remember my father, he bought, I forget, but he bought bonds in my name, like when I was overseas and everything. And I know I had them bonds after I got married, so just not too many years ago, and they were worth, quite a lot more than what they paid for them. And it really meant a lot.
That's something. Well, when you were kept some communications which kept you going, but you had been off into the next battle, right? You were in Germany,
Yes.
and then, so what went on when you were in Germany?
What went on?
Yeah, with where were you? Where did you have to go to? What was your job? What battles did you face?
So it was a battle of, let's see. In Germany, I know we were at the Rhine River. We crossed the Rhine River, and then we went to Hanoi, Germany, and later on, after we didn't meet too much resistance, we used to ride on a tank sometimes. And then we'd come to like a village or something, if they had white flags out, if we started in, there was maybe SS there, and they'd start firing at us, and they'd have us back out, or back up, and then the tanks would do a good job. They'd shell the town, and I know a lot of them, they start fires and everything.
That had to be a pretty difficult time. What did you discover in Germany? The things that you discovered in Germany about the war that you didn't know were going on? Some of the other guys said that they did.
Oh, in Germany?
Yeah. Any of the camps or anything?
Pardon?
Any of the camps or anything?
Well, right towards the end of the war, we were in Czechoslovakia. We ran into I don't know what they call it, DP logger. Anyway, it was prisoners, and boy, I'll tell you, it just makes you sick. I mean, the people, they were starving. The German soldiers had taken off before we got there, but some of the persons, I know we had like K rations with us, and we'd give them the K rations, and they'd tear the paper right apart to get to the food. They were starving. Jeez, it just made you, it made you sick.
Was there any clue, did you know that this stuff was going on before you got there?
Not really, no. Well, we got the Stars and Stripes. We used to get, sometimes we'd get that, and that was a paper that they printed over there, and the GIs printed it. And sometimes we read something about that, but we really didn't realize what was going on till that we hit that, or we got to that one DP logger. And I remember they had black and white uniforms on and striped. And God, just make you sick to.
It's all that, that stuff, kind of stuff, we see it in some of the documentaries. They had actually taken some film footage of that. You ever
Pardon?
seen that? They would have shots of some of those camps where they
Oh,
were
yeah.
black and white.
It was hard to believe, but boy, it was true, I guess, yeah.
So once you got there and obviously these people were liberated, what did you do to help get them, move them on to some safety? And were you part of that?
Well, that one camp we went to, we kind of went right by there. The prisoners were getting out, but we were moving on, and then another outfit came and kind of looked after them and like that and took care of them. But we were supposed to keep on moving, so that was in Czechoslovakia, and that was just about the time that Germany surrendered. Just about the time that Germany surrendered.
Do you remember hearing about when Germany surrendered?
Germany surrendered? I remembered because just 2 or 3 days before they surrendered, all these prisoners all these Germans were coming. Good God, they were walking, they were riding. Some of them were riding motors, so they wanted to surrender to us, to the Americans, because they were afraid they were afraid to surrender to the Russians. They wanted to come to the American side. And they were coming in trucks, and sometimes you'd see a wagon coming with a horse and an oxen, and they'd be on that, and they just wanted to get away from the Russians. And they were turning all their weapons into Americans. In fact, I got a German Luger from one of the officers. They gave me a German Luger. And they just wanted to get away from the Russians, and they were surrendering to the Americans. That was just before Germany surrendered. That was in Czechoslovakia.
So after that, you had all these POWs then, right?
Right. But we didn't have, I don't know, we really didn't have much to do with the POWs. They went back and I guess division MPs and like that took care of the POWs.
So then what were you assigned to do next?
Pardon?
What did you do next? What did you have to do next?
Well, we still took training, and it wasn't too long after that, my outfit, the Yankee division, went back to the States. And I didn't have it. See, it was all points, this point system. I didn't have enough points, so I had to stay, and I went to the 42nd Division MPs. I got in the MPs in the 42nd Division. That's what I was, after that, I was in the MPs.
So you went to help, you helped with prisoners or something after that?
Well, we were stationed in Linz. We were stationed outside of Linz in Spielhof. It was outside of Linz, Austria. And I know we had to go up in the Alp Mountains. They had a wood chopping detail, and there was German prisoners, SS prisoners like that, and we had to go up and guard them. All for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. They were chopping wood for the city of Linz. That's what for heat, they burned wood. And I know we were up in the Alp Mountains, and it was beautiful up there. I remember that. And then we stayed like in a cabin, and this Austrian woman got our meals and like that while we were guarding them, and it was really all right then.
It's nice to have that time when it was a little bit
Yeah,
less taxing, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So, now you were there, but what about some of the other people you were with? Have they gone on to deal with Japan at that point?
No, they didn't go to Japan. They went back to, it wasn't that long afterwards that Japan surrendered. They dropped the bomb, and then they went back, a lot of them went back to that had enough points, went back to the States and got discharged.
When you think about your days, you know, the kind of battle that you saw and that you lived through, what do you think is important to pass on about that? What do you think is important for people to know that they just couldn't understand?
Well, they ought to be thankful that they were back in the States and weren't up on the line and like that. In fact, this one fellow, he was from Kentucky, and his name was Roscoe Smith, I think. And anyway, when I first went to the outfit, he was older. He'd been there, but he kind of looked after the younger ones. He'd give us, well, like if we had to dig in, he'd kind of give us pointers and like that. And he was always more careful than the rest of us. He was a little older. And like if he had to dig in, he'd always dig a deeper hole. And when we got staying in houses, he'd always stay in the cellars and like that. And anyway, it was just before the Germany surrendered. A week or two before, we were riding in this German truck, and it was like it wasn't really a convoy, but there was a bunch of American Jeeps and weapons carriers. And anyway, there was a bunch of us riding in this German truck that we'd found. And anyway, this airplane was coming over, and we were making bets whether it was a American plane or a Russian plane. Well, it was a German plane. And anyway, they came down, they started strafing us, and we all jumped off and went each side of the road in a field. And this one fellow was so careful all the time, he went under the Jeep, and geez, he got it in each leg. And we all felt very bad about that.
And probably for some others as well.
Pardon?
Probably for others as well.
Yeah. But he went back, I think we heard he went back to England. We never heard from him again. And when I come home, I had his address. I wrote to him, but I never heard any reply, so I don't know.
So you weren't sure what really happened to him?
We don't know. But he was, he used to talk a lot to us. He was on a little farm there in Kentucky, and like I wasn't on a farm, but both my grandmothers and grandfathers, they were on farms, and I used to go and help like that. And I always talked to him a lot, you know, when we had a chance. But I know everybody felt bad about that.
I'm sure you built some close friendships while you were there.
Oh yes.
Are there people you still wonder about what happened to them?
Yes, and I still, I wrote to 4 or 5 different ones after I come home, and I still, there's 2 that I still keep in contact with, and this one's out in, he lives out in Missouri, near Branson, because I figured if I ever went out there for that country and western, and he told me if I ever come out that he didn't live too far from Branson.
That sounds like a fun place to go.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That sounds good. Sounds good.
But I never went out there.
Now, I see that you're active in VFW group,
Yes.
Legion, VFW?
In the Legion.
Legion. What's it like when you get together with your buddies to talk about this stuff? Or what do you share that's different from what you share with other people?
Pardon?
What's different about talking to some of your buddies the Legion that's different from talking to other people?
Well, you can usually tell them more and like that. And
Do you talk about some of your experiences?
well, we used to, yeah, but like a lot of the ones that I used to know, they're all passed away now. But I don't know, you talk so much about, but you don't tell them everything. You know what I mean? It's a lot of things you kind of try to keep to yourself, I think, that happened.
Some people haven't handled it so well through the years because they carry some of that with them. How did you adjust to it personally through the years?
Well, I adjusted very good, but then I knew all different ones. One fellow in particular, boy, he'd been, I don't know whether you call it shell shot and he used to, well, he'd get raving on and on and on, and we all felt sorry for him. He's passed away now too.
Now, what about when you came home? What about when you came home, when it was time to, you were done being an MP, right?
Yeah,
When was that, when did you actually get enough points to come home? Do you remember?
I came home in July of '46. Then I got discharged.
Up until then, you probably were doing some, if you were an MP, were you doing some
Right.
cleanup or?
Yeah, we were doing it. We were at one time over there. They checked my records and they found out I took typing in high school, and so I worked between well, they call it the military government. I worked between the the GIs and Austrian police, like at a police station. Like if a GI should get in trouble or something, and we'd have to write stuff out and like that.
So then you were discharged.
Yeah,
What was coming home like?
coming good. In fact, I don't know, I was home for about a month and I think it was about a month, and I hadn't got a job or anything. And so anyway, this friend of mine, Joe Murphy, he'd got up about the same time I did. So we went down and signed up for this 5220. You got $20 a week for 52 weeks. And at that time, that was quite a lot of money. And I remember that night at the supper table, I was telling my father and mother about it. I thought it was quite a thing. My father said, "You've been home long enough, you better go get a job." So I think the next day we both, and I guess Joe's mother told him the same thing. And the next day we both went down to Borden's. Borden's was at Borden's. They made instant coffee at Newport, and we both went there and got a job. I never collected a cent on the 5220.
So when you came home to family?
Yeah, my father and mother, and I had a sister.
And
We lived outside of Newport. Oh, that's another thing. When I went overseas, we lived in the village in Newport, and my father had bought this, well, it was a little place outside the village. And when I went to service, they said they might move up there. And I said, I'm not gonna. Well, anyway, I didn't say, but they wrote to me overseas, this was after the war, and told me how they'd moved up to they called it was a little farm. It was only, I don't know, 10 acres, something like that. And so I wrote back and I said, I'm not going to come up there. I'm going to stay in the Pioneer Inn. There was a hotel there. So anyway, I come home and I went up there, and God, I loved it up there. It was outside the village, and there was a trout stream right back of the barn. And then there was good hunting up there in the fall, like that, rabbits and like that. And I enjoyed it up there. I was up there till I got married.
So it was a good homecoming then?
Yes, yeah.
And when you came home, were you able to share what went on? Were you able to talk to your parents or your sister about it, or did you not?
I didn't say too much about it. I used to write home to my mother and father and, you know, tell them, but I didn't tell them everything.
Most people couldn't put all that in writing.
Pardon?
You couldn't put all that in writing.
In fact, when I was taking basic training, I was in Camp Wheeler, Georgia. This friend of mine, I was taking infantry training, and this friend of mine, he was in the Air Corps. He was taking Air Corps training, and we used to write back and forth. And I used to write some Sunday afternoons. I'd write quite a few letters. Well, I got the envelopes mixed up. I got the letter to my mother went to this fellow, and the letter to this fellow went to my mother, and I was really telling him what I thought about the infantry, I know we were digging foxholes, and we had to go through an infiltration course and all that. I was really telling him about the infantry. Well, that letter got to my mother, and she never wrote back to me or said anything about it till I was home on a delay en route before I went overseas, and all she said, you better not get your letters mixed up again in different envelopes. So that was all she said. But in the meantime, this other fellow had written back to me and told me that I must have got a letter mixed up with somebody. But
It's funny how you remembered that. It made a,
yeah, I remember that.
when you got home and you didn't really talk too much about it, got your job at Borden,
Yes,
right? Well, then life went on.
yeah.
Well, what went on after that?
Oh, and I didn't get married till I was 28. I was having a pretty good time like that. But anyway, I got married when I was 28, and then we had 5 children. But I was at Borden's for 25 years. I worked there. It never got very rich, but it was, you know, I could walk to work and like that because I'd moved to Newport. And then I got a job in the Arms.
How were you different when you came back?
How was I different?
How were you different?
Well, I don't know. I was thankful to be home, and I was thankful I was alive and everything. And I don't know. I was still only 21, I think, when I come home. When I got out.
Would you say it affected you for your whole life?
Pardon?
Would you say it affected you for your whole life?
Well, I don't know. I don't think it affected me that much. I was so young and everything, and
But you went on, had your family,
yeah.
all your children, right? What do you tell your children about this?
I just told them I was in World War II. In fact, my youngest son, he was in the Gulf War there at, where was it? Not this last one, the first one they had there.
That's the story.
Yeah.
How did that affect you to have your son in the service?
Pardon?
How did it affect you having a son who went in the service?
I kind of worried quite a lot about him.
Was he in the Army as well?
Pardon?
Was he in the Army as well?
Yeah, he was in the he was in the tanks over what they call Desert Storm. He was over in Desert Storm. He was first lieutenant, and no, my wife and I were both worried. I mean, it didn't last that long, but we both were worried about him.
How did that change your relationship with him? Did he have a different understanding of maybe what your life had been when you were there?
Oh yes, yeah, just for how long you've been over there.
Did you find, how about asking you questions? How many questions or anything have your kids asked you through the years about it? Anything?
Oh, some of them, when they got a little older, they started asking me quite a few questions. And, well, I told them some of the things, but there's a lot I didn't tell them.
Do you have grandchildren?
Yes, got 2 grandsons.
You know, they say that women who are in the world wars, you know, they saved the world, basically. Do you agree with that?
I don't know.
What do you think it might be good for your grandsons to understand about what you gave and all those buddies who were with you and what you put into our country and what you put into the service? What do you think they need to understand?
Well, they should understand, you know, I would think they should understand quite a lot of it.
What would you want them to be able to know that maybe they can't find out from anybody except somebody who was there?
Oh, well, I'd probably tell them quite a lot of it, but still don't think I'd tell them a lot of things that went on.
They're better left unsaid?
Pardon?
Are they better left unsaid?
I think so, yes, yeah. I was just thankful I got home in one piece, I guess.
If we're doing this documentary because we don't want people to forget. And what do you think people should remember?
Well, they should remember to give the veterans a lot of, well, how would I say it? Well, praise them up a lot and like that. And be thankful that they went over, and because I think, you know, I think Hitler was bad, and if we hadn't have done something about him, I don't think a lot of us would even be here today. If, you know, if he'd ever got all the countries and everything. No, he was bad.
Did you realize how bad before you went into the service?
Did I realize?
Did you realize how bad he was before you went into the
Well,
service?
I'd read a lot about him, but I didn't realize a lot of things till I got over there. Got some of these people that, you know, you see some of these people, and some, especially in these prison camps, boy, it kind of make you wonder about him.
I think he could do that.
Yeah.
Amazing. Just amazing. I'm glad that you decided that you would come in and talk to us, because that was a hard decision.
It was.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I thought about it at first, and then I kind of forgot about it, and then,
We talked to Joe Murphy, you know.
yeah.
Did he say that?
Yeah, Joe and I've been, you know, well, we grew up together, and we've been pretty close.
How amazing you both came home,
Yeah.
and you would both be able to share your experiences.
Yeah, we both, you know, belong to the Legion, like the VFW, and
What do you think gives the vets the bond that they have?
who's that?
Vets.
Oh,
what
I
do
don't know, they got a pretty strong bond. I think they all kind of stick together and do quite a lot.
Why do you think they have that bond?
I don't know, but I've known quite a few of them through the Legion and like that, and I don't know, they all seem to have kind of stick together and everything. Of course, a lot of the ones that I knew, I mean, they're passed away now.
Do you think that a lot of the families, the young people, have the kind of respect and the kind of understanding of what people gave for the country? Do you notice that they understand and respect that?
I think some of them do, and I don't. And the other ones, I don't think it means anything to them. But I think some of them, a lot of them, I think, have the respect and like that.
Do your grandsons ask you about stories? Do they ever say, you know, tell
Pardon?
us? Do your grandsons ever ask you about stories from the war or anything?
Oh, by one, yeah, they asked, because I give them like some of the patches I had and like that, and they'd ask me what divisions and then where I went and like that, and They ask me questions.
That's good. Well, I'm glad you share it with them. I'm glad you share it with us.
Yes.
I appreciate it. Maybe we should talk to your wife and ask her about things. Do you have the same perspective on it?
No, probably the same.
Probably the same, yeah. Well, thank you very much for
Well,
sharing that.
I thank you and I appreciate it. I was proud to serve in the Army and proud to serve for the United States of America.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, I am recording on this, if you'd like to just tell me what that is. What is that?
That's a history of the 328th Infantry Regiment. And that's what I was in. I was in Company M. And that was of the 26th Division, the Yankee Division, YD. It tells the places that we, went to and places we'd captured and like that through in World War II.
You want me to see if I can get
When
a
did-
map or something?
What did you feel, yeah,
See if you could just hold it up, open it up,
Yeah,
and put
I
your
will.
fingers way up on top.
yeah, there's some good,
Pick a
this is
map
France
there.
to Germany and to Czechoslovakia, because you talked about those.
You might have to hold it up and scale, yeah, and I'll just try to miss your fingers.
Yeah, I can do that.
It shows a route that
It's the route you guys took.
that we took.
Yeah, that's their route. Look at that, it's in red for you. They actually started over on the left there, right, because you went into Czechoslovakia later.
Alright. I did, I went left to right.
Oh, did you?
Yep.
Okay. They, I didn't know they actually compiled things like this and gave them to you guys. Let's see. Is there one there? Because that's Luxembourg, which is where you were, right?
Yes, I was in Luxembourg.
Now, you
That's
you
where-
would have been in all of these because this was your division.
Yes.
These are all, this is just, that's your whole tours, this right there. How do we pronounce this, S-A-A-R? Saar? 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 Saar?
SAR, yeah. We were in the SAR.
Because it was from Saar to the Rhine, was
Mhm.
that it?
Right. Yeah, in Sarlat. We were in Sarlat.
Oh, this is, we were talking about Czechoslovakia in the victory, right? Russian Americans meet resident, oh. That's what you were talking about.
That's where we ended up in
Czechoslovakia,
Czechoslovakia. That's
don't
where
get the
when the
Czech
war
in
ended.
there.
That's where all the German prisoners were, or all the Germans were coming to our line to surrender.
Oh, that was what that was. I was trying to figure out where that, I'm sorry, I was trying to figure out where that was coming from, because that would be a good conway when he's talking about that. Oop. Trying to pan until, there we go. Okay. Now, crossing the Rhine,
We had to, that's when I was in the MPs, we had to guard one side, the American side, and the Russians were on the other side,
Where was it? This was Linz?
in Linz.
And you were guarding a trestle.
We were guarding our side, the American side, and the Russians were on the other side. And I remember I had this Mickey Mouse watch, and it didn't run only. You'd have to hit it to keep it going. And so these Russians, this one time I was on the guard duty there at the bridge, these Russians came over and they wanted watches. So I anyway, I sold them this watch, I forget, for, I don't know, maybe it come out $30 or $40, all shillings over there then. anyway, I sold them the watch, and I was just, they all had like Tommy guns on. Boy, they were rough. And I sold them the watch, and I was just hoping they'd get back on their own side. I hope the watch kept going.
Now this is a map, it looks like these are these railroad tracks in here, in this map? Is that
I'm
what
not
they are?
sure. I
It looks
think
like
probably,
it
yeah.
might be. That's what
Yeah,
it looks
across
like
the
it might
Rhine,
be.
yeah.
Let's talk about across the Rhine. And the railroad tracks around there, there's one of the maps. There's some fantastic photographs in here too, pretty amazing. Do you want me to pick it up later?
I don't know. Yeah, pick it up and just hold that one page back.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you can just kind of come down or something.
I know the civilians, like the Austrian civilians, they were always scared of the Russians. They were bad towards the civilians. And, well, you could hear, like, from our side, you could hear a lot of shooting. They used to have the guns up in there and shoot, you know, fire and like that.
Okay.
Look at this, I don't know if you can get in on this or not. That's a,
And it came out.
I mean, look at the shot out villages and towns, amazing. Is that Luxembourg? No, the Saar to the Rhine. That's going to the Rhine, I guess. That's what that one is about. It's really amazing. Whoops, I dropped those papers, so I'll get 'em. I'll pick them up, you don't have to. Thank you. This is the Rhine one. Did we do this one?
No?
No, this is the one. It's very good. Oh, thank you.
Hold it right up on
Yeah,
top of the.
I will.
Right there you
Let me
go.
put them here. Right up here?
Yeah, then I
Okay.
can just kind of pan across there.
Let me see if I can flatten it out a little bit, because this says Rhineland on it. The campaign, SAR, got the date. What thing about the Rhine, crossing the Rhine, stands out in your mind?
Pardon?
What stands out in your mind about the Rhine crossing?
I remember at night that well, they had flares and all like that. I remember that, and we crossed the next day on pontoon bridge. Now that Rhine, I said it was a Blue Danube in Linz. That's the one that went down through Linz. I was mistaken. Did you ever hear of the Blue Danube? That's the one that went down through the center of Linz instead of the Rhine.
Now here, if you get a close-up right here, Wade, this shows the Rhine River. You can see it there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to start at the top of that page, because it says Rhineland or what.
I've got one up here, and then I'll just kind of come down.
To see the river, yeah, that's good. Amazing.
Hold up. I'm trying to see that.
That's good.
No,
There's-
I'd made a mistake in Austria. In Linz, it was the Danube that went down through the center
All right.
instead of the Rhine.
Instead of
The
Rhine.
Danube.
Okay.
These are much, this is the Luxembourg initial phase. Some of these photographs, they're really,